Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Life School MasterClass Show. We're back with another show, and I'm on with another amazing guest. As usual, the Life School MasterClass Show can be found as a podcast at any major podcast platforms and also on social media channels and YouTube channel under the Life School Masterclass Show. I am your host. My name is Elona Lopari, and I'm a business strategist, and I help service providers position their high-ticket offers in the market through organic marketing and sales coaching conversations so they can scale to 6 and 7 figures. Today, I'll be introducing to you a really special guest. We have Trisha Pareto. Trisha is an international master addictions coach and speaker. Trisha, thank you so much for finding time to come on my show today and have a chat about a very important topic today.
No, thank you for having me, because it is so important to me that we continue to spread the word and share all the options that are actually available for people and who actually needs a recovery journey.
Oh, absolutely. As soon as we met, I said, I have to have you on my show because this is such an important topic. And I think that it definitely needs to be a lot more awareness around it. So let's start with an introduction. I know I probably covered really not much in my line of introducing you, Trisha. So tell me a little bit more about yourself so that the audience can get to know you a little bit better.
Well, I could go through the list of 11 to 13 credentials, but it's boring and nobody really cares. But, I am a master addiction specialist. I'm definitely a recovery lifestyle enthusiast. And I do have a psych degree where I studied in depth all things that are process, behavioral, and chemical addiction in nature. Addictions, negative attachments, and habits that hold us hostage are all very much seated in a pressure to perform and a reliance on things outside of ourselves to bring us peace, joy, comfort, relief, even value, validity, and worthiness. And so in my long journey getting to where I am and discovering my passion for helping people, recreate how they're experiencing living, I realized that the words addiction and recovery do not only apply to the down, the out, the ill, the poorly functioning, and those that need to be removed from their environment. It actually, both those words actually apply to a much broader spectrum of people. So anyway, I could go on for a really long time.
Yeah, no, that was definitely great. So let's jump right in then. So based on your experience, what are some of the most common type of addictions?
Well, there's right now, the most common that I'm seeing is, since the onset of the pandemic is, a very, very much increase in the overuse of alcohol outside of, the normal, standard, again, high severity addiction. We are seeing people that are trying to go back to work and, they got accustomed to that midday drinks. And so, we're seeing a lot of people that are struggling, with alcohol, food addiction, overindulgence, shopping addiction has become a high prevalence of what I'm seeing a lot of people come in with. And, that those people pleasing, codependent, overbook my calendar. I get all my value and validity of being everything that everybody else needs me to be kind of folks. We have a lot of issues with, the balancing there of, reintegrating into a more traditional lifestyle, I guess, if you will. So, that's what I'm seeing a lot of right now. I am also seeing a lot of higher severity folks having more difficulty finding treatment. And so I'm doing a lot of work vetting places for people to go for longer than just detoxification and stabilization.
Yeah, I'm sure there's so many layers to that. I just wanted to give an overview, but it's really all about people feeling a void, right, within themselves and looking for exterior ways to fill that void, but that definitely doesn't work because it shows up in these other behaviors. So that was going to be my next question, like how do these show up? How do we know when it's actually become an addiction, something that's really getting in our way in our lifestyle, and something that we need to start worrying about? Or is it just a temporary coping mechanism, maybe as someone is going through something stressful or a lot of uncertainty right now? I'm assuming that is why, you know, the alcohol addiction's significantly gone up. But what are some of those, you know, barriers, or how does this show up, and when do you feel it be, you know, what is your suggestion on when it starts to really become a problem and someone can reach out for help? I think that's
Right. I think that if we go to identifying factors to start, and this could be just about any habit. It could be your exercise regimen. It could be, alcohol. It could be anything. Again, anything, that's processed behavioral or chemical in nature, to include food. If it feels super rigid, like if your day falls apart because you missed the 6 a.m. spin class, there's an issue. If you can't move through an uncomfortable situation without, really pining after, I don't know, a bottle of wine, if you're emotionally distressed and you got to sit down on the couch and eat a bucket of Ben and Jerry's, if it's controlling, if it's where your mind goes to, like, I've got to go have a cigarette, I've got to go this, I've got to go spin class because I'm aggravated. Anywhere you can identify that there's an emotional purpose or an emotional attachment or an inability to move through something without something outside of you, then you want to take a look at that. Doesn't mean we have to give up everything, but that's the first place, is really take notice. If you can't sit down on the couch at night without mopping your floors and cleaning everything top to bottom, like there's a control issue in there. There's something that, either we're avoiding or attaching, etc. Right? Negative attachments. That would be like low level, severity. Sure, we can make a few tweaks, learn a few skill sets and tools and tactics and move on. If you habitually just automatically do something, all the time, you want to be looking at that. If physically you feel like you can't go without something, then we want to look at that, right? And certainly if you're feeling any sort of what we refer to as withdrawal, right? If you get up in the morning and you're shaky, even if it's sugar, like we can have withdrawal from sugar. It is actually sometimes harder to remove sugar from our lives than it is alcohol. But alcohol, of course, being way much more dangerous. But if you're having any kind of physical effects, you absolutely want to look at that, because you want to catch it before you need to be monitored, or before, we have to take extreme measures. I've worked in every level of addiction treatment, and there is definitely benefit to doing early interventions and harm reduction and being, conscious of how you're maneuvering through your days.
No, those are great points. And what stood out to me is becoming aware, even though that's a little bit harder, said than done, but just becoming aware of behaviors and how are you actually coping with things so that they don't turn into repetitive patterns, so that you could stop and actually, figure out what's going on there. So there's always something behind it. So Trisha, at what point do people that need help come to you? What is some of the maybe first steps towards their recovery based on your experience?
Well, I think it's important that you assess the level of severity need. I mean, if you're somebody that's at home and you're just attaching, past experiences all the time, right? Or you're just truly stuck in this down place, you want to look at how severe is it? If you're drinking, a handle of vodka every day. We want to, the first step is assessing. So you want to reach out somewhere where you can, get a unbiased assessment of what level your addiction severity may be, or if it's not chemical, just what is the level of severity, and then start talking about what would be a good treatment plan. I have these conversations with people all the time, where we assess the situation and then I make recommendations. I work a lot with the folks that either don't assess for the level of care that they need to go into treatment, or those that are coming out of treatment. Now, I do help people find the right place, because it's important that you find the facility or the program or the coach or the therapist or the psychologist that speaks your language. You have to be relating to them. So, if what I have to offer doesn't speak your language, I want to help you find what will. Anyway, so you want to get assessed. You want to have a plan. You want to have your eyes wide open and say, wow, like this is going to take longer. I work with a lot of people that come out of treatment, because you get anymore around here, you get, maybe 30 days, 15 days, depending upon insurance and your level of severity. But then you go home to the now what's next. You're going home to the same house, spouse, kids, bills, job, community, social circles, all the things are the same. And now you have to figure it out. And a lot of folks, either AA isn't enough, or B, don't want to, do those levels of care. But we really have to learn those life skills that we didn't know. We've got to create that emotional intelligence that we need to learn how to navigate through our life the way that we want to, so that we see ourselves the way that we want to see ourselves. And sometimes it's, learning how to open the refrigerator and pull out, the right thing. Like it's retraining, reconditioning the way that we, maneuver life.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe, sometimes in these situations, that could be the beginning of someone to become more aware and really start working on those behaviors, the life skills that maybe, they missed along until then of the way that they've been coping. So, it could be the beginning of something beautiful, just going through a journey of healing for most people. So, it could be both of those as well. So, Trisha, we could go on forever with this topic. I think there's so much more to dig into, and maybe we'll do that another time. But I just wanted to ask you for a last message. Maybe there's someone hearing this interview that is maybe dealing with something. What would be your message to someone that's maybe struggling with an addiction, but they might just maybe be at the beginning? They might not be so aware of it, but it's really, impacting them in their lives.
I would say that there are a few steps that you can start to look at. And take a look at a whole health survey. I have one that's available, just to download. But you want to look at how you're truly functioning emotionally, socially, spiritually, intellectually, physically. You want to break down those 6 categories and really look at how you're functioning. Learn what a true life balance is, because it's a lot broader than it really is. I like to look at 14 different categories that create a balanced life and have people define it for themselves. But then really look at how responsive you are. I think a lot of us operate in the stance of a judger. We're quick to be knee jerk. We're impulsive. We're very reactive, and we don't realize it. So a lot of times, a lot of our issues is just reactivity, instead of truly, pausing long enough to cultivate a response or to really interpret it effectively. So, life skills that we don't get in school and generally aren't taught to us growing up is responsiveness, emotion regulation, distress tolerance, what is effective self-soothing. Again, these are baseline life recovery, addiction recovery skill sets that we need to start cultivating emotional intelligence, so that we can, move forward in a different light. That's very top line bullet point baseline. But, that's what I would recommend, is to truly evaluate how it is you're interpreting your environment, and how it is you're truly functioning in it, so that you have, a clear picture.
Yeah, I love what you said, the assessment part, right? So that should be always the first step, and really looking at all the components of your life, because they all work in harmony, or at least they should work in harmony, and helping people really defining it for themselves, figuring out what, matters to them. So that's really, really wonderful. Trisha, thank you so much for everything you shared. And I'm sure there's so many more questions that people might have. Where is it that they can follow up with you, or can find you after the interview today?
What I'd say the easiest way is to just go to turningleafsrecovery.com. You can click on courses or bundles, and look around for some of those free downloads. Totally open to you. There's also a contact form if you have questions. Where would I start? Or, I hear this a lot: I don't have an addiction, but what you're talking about speaks to me. I have, this is going on in my life. And then we just start opening a conversation. But anyway, turningleafsrecovery.com, easiest way to find me.
All right. Well, hopefully we served a lot of people today. I encourage everyone to go to the website, and just like you said, Trisha, just to do an assessment, just to start a conversation. And that's enough to kind of figure out the steps sometimes. So thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us today. We've reached the end of the interview. Thanks for everything, all the information. And like I said, I hope that we served at least one person through all the information that we shared. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week with another amazing guest and interview. Take care.